Emergency episode, huge news out in Mets world. Harrison Bader on a 1-year, $10 million contract. We have to talk about it. We have to, so let's start doing it. What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. We, of course, are going to be talking about the Harrison Bader signing. We can do that now. For those of you who have not been keeping up with the YouTube channel, because that's where technically 2 episodes have been posted already, we are no longer the official podcast of the New York Mets. For many of you who are listening to us, this could be the first episode that you are hearing since we have no longer been the official podcast of the New York Mets. So thank you, welcome. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Mets'd Podcast on YouTube. You'll be able to find that in the description of the podcast feed if you are looking for that, so you can see the video version of this. And for those of you who are not first-time listeners or not joining on for the first time since we've been unaffiliated, we can actually talk about this news now. So let's get going into it. James, Harrison Bader is a New York Met. How are we feeling?
Instant reaction, totally fine. Like, he's making money like on par with like fourth outfielders. He plays really good defense. I don't know. I don't think he's a very good hitter at all. But like, there's the Mets didn't really have like an ace center fielder on this roster this year right now. Last year, this role was filled by Tim LeCastro, and Harrison Bader's better than Tim LeCastro. So I think just overall, it's better. It's like definitely not. I've been saying this a lot recently. It's not like the sexy, splashy, fun move that Mets fans want. We've heard people say things like underwhelming, but it's just kind of the world we live in right now. For those who did listen to our offseason like recap / preview, that was our first episode since we were disassociated with the Mets. We talked about the fact that it felt unlikely that 1 year anyone was going to sign a multi-year deal with this team anymore. So it just kind of felt like more of the same, where it's like we need a really good defensive center fielder. This one is going to make similar money to Emmanuel Margot and Kevin Kiermaier. So let's sign him.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually a little bit surprised at him getting $10 million. Truthfully, like when I saw it, I was like, feels like a little bit. But again, I guess it's the 1-year contract thing. And to be fair, he does give you premium defense in the outfield. Like without a doubt, defensively, he is going to be one of the better defensive outfielders in baseball every single year that he plays. And he is a plus base runner, like you said. He's a better version of Tim LeCastro with a much higher ceiling as well. Because I will say this, I'm not expecting this, and I don't think any Mets fan should, but there was a world where Harrison Bader hit 16 home runs and 400 plate appearances. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's probably going to have 7, 8 home runs maybe with the Mets. But at least there has been the ceiling where he has shown the ability to be a plus hitter. So I'm not going to say he'll go to be a plus hitter, but he could at least be maybe league average with that plus defense, which could be huge for a guy who, when he's playing, is going to be hitting 9th for this team.
When he's playing, I think is the operative word there, because I don't think he's being signed to be a full-time player again. This is literally the exact same contract that Kevin Kiermaier signed like a month ago, 1 year for $10.5 million. And they're the exact same player. The only difference is Bader is 3 years younger. So I think that's a little bit of something. And
you don't think that Kiermaier will be playing every day with the Blue Jays? Because when you think about their outfield,
I think we're playing every day because that team just has worse options. But I don't know. I mean, Springer and Varsho are the everydays, and I guess it is Kiermaier for lack of another option there. I guess that's
unless they get like a Cody Bellinger, maybe that would be the only way.
Which is weird that he's still like such a free agent right now. He's not even just a free agent. Like him and Blake Snell, there's nothing. There's zero buzz. But I don't know. Bader's just like he's never had more than 430 plate appearances any season in his career. He hasn't even got he hasn't hit double-digit home runs, like you said, for 3 years. And you said that 1 year he hit double-digit home runs. Did you have a fun fact about that?
Yes. He only hit 3 at Busch Stadium. And then the other, I think 10 of his home runs were hit at Chicago in Wrigley, at Great American Ballpark, and at Coors Field, which, for those of you who don't know, 3 of the most hitter home run friendly ballparks, especially in the gaps. Well, not Coors as much, but Coors it flies.
Yeah, so I think this contract, again, Harrison Bader, he might have like a modicum of offensive ceiling left. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for him to like put it all together. It just seems like he's going to, if he plays, hit 9th, play amazing defense center field. Defense is amazing. Like, we can't undersell the defense. Like, going back 2018, he has the most outs above average for any center fielder in baseball by a really good margin. Every single year he's elite there. Everyone always has a place for him on the roster because he is such a good hitter. He can run well. Again, hitting, we're not going to say. There's a narrative going around right now about him as well that he can hit lefties, which I think is something that like people will say just because they want to say it. But also you look back at his career, people are talking about a 900 OPS last year against lefties. That was in less than 100 plate appearances, which is such a meaningless sample. That's like a 25, 30 game. That's like 1 month of an OPS, which again doesn't really mean anything. It does mean that probably as a right-handed hitter who struggles, he can just see the ball better from left-handed pitchers. I buy that for sure. And even for his career, so that's like actually a legitimate sample, about 500 plate appearances. He's about 20% better than league average against lefties, while he's about 20% worse than league average against righties. So again, that probably is more meaningful. But the fact that people think he can even be like this great hitter, against lefties, it would be a shock. It'd be a shock. Hopefully it comes true, but it would super be a shock. Seems more narrative based than statistically based. But
Yeah, I think people are trying to make a what is relatively insignificant signing feel more important because Mets fans specifically are dying for any sort of feeling of importance this offseason, considering the moves that have been made to most Mets fans, as we've seen in our comments and our replies and our DMs. People are very underwhelmed.
and that's also again, that's just the Mets that we get to do the Mets button. Like we're clicking that right now. We're pretending you guys emergency episode Harrison Bader. No, we're just out here trying to make some content because we can again. Jeff Passan's tweet about Harrison Bader signing is going to have 1 million impressions by the time this gets to your
What?
podcast ears. It has 730,000 right now, 130.
Oh my God, that's so many. What are his other tweets sitting at?
I'm going to scroll around, look right. But that's the thing, that the journalists can press the Mets button. The Chris Sale trade, the Chris Sale contract extension that came out a couple hours before, 800,000.
Wow.
So Harrison Bader 1 year deal, Chris Sale extension. Juan DeFranco tweet 2 mil.
Yeah.
Juan DeFranco free 800,000. The Chris Sale trade tweet only 500,000 impressions. So that's what Mets fans do. Oh, but the original tweet 10 million. The tweet with the story 500,000. But I think that's just the Mets effect. That's what we can do.
Yeah, and we're pushing that button, like you said. We've been dying to make content for you guys. Again, no longer with the New York Mets, so we can actually talk about this move now because we don't have to wait for it to be official. We were joking on the episode that we did that's only on YouTube as of right now, which you guys should go check out, that about the Carlos Correa thing. We're like, if a Carlos Correa move happened again, we'd be talking about it instantly. And what do you know? It's not a Carlos Correa move, and we're still talking about it instantly with Harrison Bader. Yeah, and I think the more interesting conversation that a guy like Harrison Bader brings in, and I know you said he's not going to play every single day, but the idea is that he's probably going to be playing, he's going to be playing center field when he plays. I think that's no doubt. It wouldn't make any sense to put him anywhere else, but he's going to be playing center field. We've seen Starling Marte is playing in the lead-om now, so he looks like he's at least somewhat healthy enough to be playing baseball, it appears. He'll be in right field. And then Brandon Nimmo, surely when Harrison Bader is playing center field, will be in left, which I also think is huge for Nimmo because, one, he just has a super weak arm. Like, his arm is a noodle for sure in center field. And two, we know that injury-wise, muscle-wise, he does tend to get nicked up a little bit and just kind of get a little bit tight at times in the season. So left field obviously puts a lot less strain. But this kind of now changes how the roster feels and who's going to be getting these last few spots. As of January 4th, 2024, I mean, all things could change in spring training. All things could change tomorrow. But it does make the roster construction a little bit more interesting now.
More or less, it makes the roster feel complete from a hitter standpoint. Because right now, there's 13 very obvious hitters in the Mets roster. It's a starting lineup where the infield goes Pete, McNeil, Lindor, and Brett Baty at third, Alvarez at catcher, and then outfield from left to right, Nimmo, Bader, Marte, and then you have a bench of backup catcher Narvaez, another DJ Stewart DH, Mark Vientos DH, backup infielder Joey Wendell, and fourth outfielder Tyrone Taylor. It's not very. I mean, I'm not going to go and like tell you guys that's like a World Series contending roster, but that's just like in terms of roles and in terms of how many players are playing each position, the roster is complete. I'm not telling you it's complete. Like, there's no way they're going to sign more players, but as of right now, everything has fit together in like a bit of a puzzle piece kind of way where it feels complete. But then that could change.
I mean, they're basically like those 13 players are all major league players. Those are all guys that should be on a major league roster. Relatively speaking, Mark Vientos is probably the one that's maybe the most shaky here. But yeah, like now he brings up the conversation because everybody wants to go get Justin Turner. Everybody wants to go get JD Martinez. And I know we spoke about it on the last episode, but again, maybe for the people who didn't get to catch that one, Justin Turner just doesn't really, like, I see people calling him a power bat. I don't think people understand like what Justin Turner's power truly is. Like
15 homer guy,
15 home runs. He obviously is a better hitter than what we have. You will be better than Mark Vientos probably next year. But I think the idea is like that $15 million that you spend on him could be spent elsewhere, specifically where we need more help on the pitching side.
And even like the $15 million to be spent on him, it doesn't really seem like much a more significant like investment is going to be made in this roster this season.
No.
Like unless like the only guys out there who are going to even cost a lot of money that seem realistic. I don't think Jordan Montgomery is realistic. I don't think Blake Snell's realistic. Cody Bellinger is certainly not realistic. The only guys who are marginally realistic right now for this roster who could cost significant money, probably in the $15, $18 million, $20 million a year range. One hitter, one pitcher. Jorge Soler, who we both support very much, but also just seems like it's a weird fit right now. And Shota Imanaga.
Yes.
Yes, we got that one right. We talked about this a lot in the last one, but we keep saying we talked about this one, but I feel weird this is the first one the podcast people are listening to. Like maybe
Yeah.
we should just upload that one first anyway, but I don't know, whatever.
Nah.
He's such a strange pitcher. Like there's no pitcher in Major League Baseball like him. There's no lefty with a sweeper and a splitter and like a high rising four seam fastball. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not a good thing. He looks like he's probably going to get like a 5-year deal for almost 100 mil. It just seems like a lot for someone that's so unknown. Soler is an elite DH. He'd be one of the best DHs in baseball. The second he is DH, he's one of the best, purely one of the best hitters in baseball. Like I actually don't have any qualms saying that in terms of his plate approach, in terms of his power, in terms of the newfound discipline he's done, the way he's been able to recognize breaking balls the last few years. Like I think he's an unstoppable DH, but it doesn't make sense. But then I go back and the one spot that this Mets roster still can be massaged a little bit is in that kind of DH role, because the only players on the team, there's 4 players right now projected on the Major League roster that still have minor league options. 2 of them are Francisco Alvarez and Brett Baty, who seem like something. Alvarez, absolutely no chance. Baty would just have to really stoink up the spring training, which would make us all really sad for that to even be realistic. And then it's Stewart and Vientos, each have an option still. So it does make sense to bring in a designated hitter who either hits righty or lefty, and then whichever one that hits, that other guy, whether it be a lefty or Stewart or righty with Vientos, likely start season in the minors, unless that DH is also someone that can play the outfield and then or the infield that suddenly though makes like Joey Wendell or Tyrone Taylor extraneous, which is unlikely because they don't have an option. But just like talking through what else can happen in this roster, I think Justin Turner seems unrealistic because I guess that's just the Vientos spot. Then Vientos starts down low, but he's like a DH. I don't know. It all feels very weird and seems like where the Mets fans are and where the Mets brass are right now are kind of far apart.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying it now. We're like, they're not going to sign any multi-year deals. It seems like, at least appears like that. 2024 is a season that's going to happen relatively in a vacuum for the Mets. Like 2024 happened, we either won or we lost, and that's what's going to end up being. And then 2025, it's almost like that's when you really start to plan for the future. It seems like this is the holdover year a little bit. This is the carryover year of like, get me to the next one and let's figure it out then, because there are just so many bigger decisions to make in 2025 rather than going all, and I said this on the last one too, like going all in on this team right now, how much better do they really get, truthfully, like than where they are right now? Like how much better does Justin Turner or JD Martinez or Jordan Montgomery really make this team? Like they're still third at best probably in the National League East, and that pains me because I fucking hate the Braves and the Phillies so much. But like, I guess you're better than the Marlins then, which is not really that much of an accomplishment, to be fair.
No, but what it also means is that I still think there's like a wild card future for this team. Like I think there's a way.
Totally.
And the irony is that a lot of the people who are so frustrated by the way this team is being built right now and the fact that like we're looking into like a defense and bullpen kind of team, like and like maybe some small ball, which I don't think they'll actually play small ball, but I just think that it's going to be a team that like it plays small ball more in like the philosophical sense of modern baseball rather than like an on the field sense, where it's like we're just going to grind out some games and like we're going to play like fundamental baseball. All the olds have been like, this team has lacked that forever, but now it's like the people concerned about this roster are like we need more power and stuff. I don't know. It's funny that people are always just going to go hard against the grain of what seems like the norm is, but it's gonna be a sick twist of irony when this team is just playing good baseball and is like on like a slightly above 500 win pace in August, and we're like, okay, like this, I like the Mets. Like the Mets are playing a fun brand of baseball, and I think part of that also ties into an interesting caveat about this Bader contract is that again, 1-year deal. Kiermaier got that too, but he's a little older. And it seems like Michael A. Taylor, who's the other like center field option on the free agent market, it feels like since he's just a little better of a ceiling those guys with the elite defense and high end power, I'm sure he's holding out and clamoring for a multi-year deal, which is why these other guys went first for the money they went for. We have the three arguably best prospects in the system right now, all have experience center field, all look like they could make a major league impact in 2024. And that's Drew Gilbert, Jet Williams, Luis Angel Acuna, probably in order of how likely they all are to make an impact in center field this coming year. I know Acuna's been playing more second base, Jet a little shortstop, some center, Gilbert some center, some corner. But I think this is going to be a year where, again, like we probably get a look at a lot of these guys. Like that's where this season might end up going. Like along with getting hard, long looks. I shouldn't have said that sentence
Nope, we're
like
keeping
that.
it though.
Sure, yeah, whatever. At Brett Baty and Mark Vientos, I'm sure you're going to see some moments in time where Drew Gilbert, possibly Jet Williams, possibly Luis Angel Acuna get on the field, and then doesn't even go to the pitching prospects. And we're going to have a nice prospect episode next week with friend of the program, Matt Eddy, editor-in-chief Baseball America, avid listener of the podcast, but dear friend of both of ours. Dear friend's a stretch, but he's a friend.
We just haven't met him in person, to be fair. I think if we met him in person, we'd be dear friends.
He's a great guy. I've talked to him on the phone. He's a hell of a dude. But I'm also in a dynasty league with him, so it's also fun. I'm in two dynasty leagues with him actually.
Wow.
Yeah, funny. But I just think that's going to be more what this year is like. Like it's gonna be like, do you guys love baseball? Because we're gonna play some good baseball.
Oh,
It's not gonna, yeah. I can't wait to go to Citi Field and watch this team play. Truthfully, which is kind of hilarious, but it's true.
this is such a test of like, do you love baseball? Watching this
Yeah,
Mets team is going to be like, how much baseball can you handle? Because there are going to be games, and this is just going to happen. There's going to be games where Sean Reed Foley comes in, gives up 8, and you're going to be like, wow, we lost 8-1. Like it was a 1-0, or it was a 1-0 game up until he came in. He gave up 8. What? That's frustrating. This team sucks. Why didn't they go here? Why didn't they go there? There's going to be games where the Mets get shut out. Like it's just going to happen. But they're going to grind it out. They're built like the Brewers right now with better star position players around. So it's like, if you ever believed in that Brewers team, which I bet you 90% of Mets fans who watch this really never even seen a Brewers game outside of when the Mets play them, and that's fine. I mean, I don't blame you. You're not sick in the head like me and James, but like they played good baseball, and you look at that team every year on paper, and you go, really, is this got to be the year they don't play well? And then they just do. Like, it's just kind of the way that it works. And we have good enough players with some young guys who definitely need to step up and very much can. That, like, I think we're overreacting to the need of offense where, like, it's probably way more of a need of pitching. And it feels like it's getting lost because everyone's like, if it's not Montgomery or Snell, this team stinks.
it's also just overreacting this move in general, which we're doing right now. And you guys,
Oh,
listening,
totally.
because we're all Mets fans. We have mental illness. And
To
we're
be
part of the
fair,
cult.
we're not overreacting. We are
Reacting.
over-explaining. We are over-explaining.
Over-explaining and just simply reacting.
But, like, because of what we see on Twitter, but because of what we just see in Mets world, I feel like we have to, because we want to at least give someone like a sane take about what Harrison Bader is, and I feel like we're doing that.
True, but fuck that. I think that too many people always be like, "This is what the people on Twitter are saying." We fuck that. I don't care about people are saying. I don't care. Like I don't you know what I mean? Like
Well,
I
we
care
do
what they're
care what
saying.
people are saying. That's our listeners.
No. I mean, like the people on Twitter who are not our listeners, the people who are
Oh,
like
okay.
freaking out that this move
True.
is like another nail in the coffin of the Mets 2024 season. It's just simply not that. And someone had a great reply to my Harrison Bader tweet. It did like the classic Jonah Hill Moneyball meme where it's like Mets fans, this is the guy, this is defect. And I said how good he is at defense, and some guy said, "Great, yeah, let's focus on defense so we can lose 5-0 instead of 8-0."
There it is.
That was
That's what I said.
It's a funny tweet. It's a good tweet, but
I mean, this is for Nick Kowal of the Mets'd up cohort. That's just the brain trust.
Messed up Illuminati.
You know he's negative all the time, and Nick, you know you are. You know you're pissed off about this move some way, somehow. You're going to be angry about it. We're just trying to calm you down. We're trying to calm you down a little bit.
He's also just, I don't know, there's something to be said about this team just, again, being like, people hate the fact that it's Brewers-ish, but that's like kind of the broader context of every move that's happened this offseason. Like you look at the players, the position players that have been brought in specifically so far by David Stearns, and it's Harrison Bader, Joey Wendell, Tyrone Taylor. All three of those guys have one thing in common. They play really good defense. Like those Brewers teams routinely were top of the league in Team OAA, top of the league in Team DRS. The Mets every year since most of us have been watching baseball are at the bottom of the league. We've never given any modicum of credence to defense for some reason. It's because you know why? Because defense doesn't sell back pages. And defense isn't like the exciting, sexy thing in New York. But you know what wins baseball games? Defense. And it's like it's so hard to rate for like as you watch a game because it's hard. It's much easier to score a run than take a run off the board because the ones we score, we see the number go up, but the ones we take off the board, we don't see the number go down. And it's like, it's a hard thing to conceptualize as a fan too, because we don't really have, we even still, like we have better stats than we had 5-10 years ago for defense, but we still don't really have anything that really cinches it up super well. But the teams that are always the top of the league in defense are always the ones that play better than expected. The ones at the bottom are always the ones that played worse. We would have won a World Series, Mets fans, if we didn't have a middle infield of two guys who are not middle infielders. Like it would have happened. It's true.
A first baseman who literally could throw the ball 90 feet.
Yeah, that entire infield was like shockingly bad. First baseman who couldn't throw, second baseman who couldn't field, a shortstop who had no feet, and a third baseman with a broken back.
Yeah.
That was the infield that took the Mets to the World Series. Just saying.
And a catcher who couldn't throw.
And for some reason, the whole team was built on a pitching staff. That just shows you how blind luck this all was. So like the fact that maybe we have like a defensive foundation now could be cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's probably enough of Harrison Bader
Yeah,
talk now. We've been
way more
going on
ridiculous.
15, 20 minutes. So you guys know we're sick in the head. We'll talk about this as much as possible. Again, check out the Mets'd Up podcast YouTube channel. Again, METSDUP on YouTube. We're going to tweet out. Like if you follow us on Twitter, you follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, you'll be able to find all the links there as well to the YouTube so that there's a couple episodes that have not yet been uploaded to the podcast feed because we're currently trying to get it switched over from Major League Baseball because we're no longer with the Mets. There's just a lot going on the back end. So it's just a little patience with us as we appreciate that. But we have a ton of content coming at you. We're excited to get back on the grind. And Harrison Bader is just the start. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.